Hey guys, what's up? This is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, episode 104, titled White Knight, which premiered Thursday, February 11, 2016 on the CW. I am so sorry for the delay on this. Work really caught up with me Thursday and Friday, and I couldn't keep up. And so yeah, I'm doing this now. Really sorry for the delay, but let's get right into it. Remember, have not read the comics. Everything I pick up on is based off what I've seen on this show and anything else that I think may be connected between the show Arrow and The Flash as well. So 10-minute clock, and let's get started. So what is something new that we learned in this episode? For the first part, we have one part of the mission that takes place in Washington, D.C. in 1986, and that is basically the team breaking into the Pentagon, which has a file on Vandal Savage. Once they do that, the file leads them to Russia, and they're trying to get close to this scientist called Valentina. And to do that, it's Captain Cold and Ray Palmer trying to get close to her. Essentially, it's supposed to be Ray who does it, but it's actually Captain Cold who manages to do the job. Not necessarily through talking, but he swipes her security passcode or something like that. And eventually that leads them to her laboratory, where Professor Stein or Dr. Stein goes to investigate, and he's the one that uncovers the fact that Vandal Savage is trying to recreate the Firestorm Matrix. And so now they have like this reactor core, or this fireball thing that's supposed to emit a lot of energy, and only Professor Stein can come into contact with it because he's part of the Firestorm Matrix. So essentially they're trying to get it away from Vandal Savage, but everything goes very wrong. And in the end of that part of it, we get Ray Palmer, Mick Rory, who stepped in to help out Captain Cold, but it didn't end well for him, and Professor Stein. All three of them get captured by Valentina and the rest of Vandal Savage's Russian army. And so that's not cool. But that nuclear core thing that they were trying to get is with the team back on the Wave Rider. So there's that. Another part of the storyline while they were in Russia was the fact that Sarah and Kendra were trying to deal with each other's animalistic side. Sarah is having the trouble of reining in, or the way they put it was that Sarah was having a hard time connecting with her humanity, and then Kendra's having a hard time controlling the priestess within her, which is basically some feral version of herself when she goes like crazy hot girl and everybody. So they're trying to teach each other the opposite of what they need to do, or what they themselves have control over. So there's that. We also see Rip Hunter dealing with an offer from a Time Master Thomas, I believe. Basically, the Time Master tells Rip that there's this deal that if he comes back with them, they could figure something else. But in the end, it turns out that no, they're actually going to try to kill Rip and the rest of his team so that they could stop messing with the timeline. And that storyline includes Rip Hunter, Mick Rory before he went to the Russian compound to help out his partner, and then there's Firestorm, Jax, and Professor Stein before Professor Stein went to recon the laboratory. So there's quite a few. So by the end of the episode, we have Ray, Mick, and Professor Stein as prisoners in a Russian prison, and then we have Rip Hunter, Sarah, Kendra, an injured Jax, and Captain Cold on the Wave Rider with the nuclear core thing. So what is the most shocking moment of the episode? I think for me is that the team was captured. Like half the team was captured. I wasn't expecting that at all. Especially when it's not labeled as a part 1 of 2 type thing. Usually if it's labeled part 1 of 2, then yes, it wouldn't have been as surprising, but for this one it wasn't. So that's kind of what got me there. Don't know why. But top 3 favorite moments, actually. The first one has to be the criminal mindset was talked about a lot in this episode, especially through Leonard Snart and Mick Rory. Basically, both in regards, they both talked about it to Rip Hunter. Mick Rory actually tells Rip Hunter about the motives that Time Master Thomas was going to have, which was essentially going to kill Rip and the rest of the team. And he said something about how you have to think like a criminal in order to anticipate what they're going to do, and then you have to work around that, and then, or something along those lines. It was really great though when Mick said that, because it showed a different side of him. Usually he comes off as this really not intelligent type of person, in the sense that everyone else seems to be, but he is a successful criminal, I guess you could say. He knows his way around certain things, and he knows how to evade other things. So he's very well versed in his own area of specialty, and it was great to see that in play today. And then when Captain Cold, Leonard Snart, showed his little mindset when it came to the criminal code against Rip Hunter, he said that they never leave a man behind, and that is why he was furious at the fact that he was not given backup when he asked for it back at the Russian compound, which is what resulted in half their team being taken away. So I really like that we got more of an insight of where these criminals stand and how they work through their own code. I just like that. I really do. It is definitely a lot more understanding we get about them than we got back on The Flash. More for Mick than for Leonard, because we did get a few backstories with Leonard back on The Flash. Next favorite moment has to be the fight scene, especially between Sarah and Kendra. Not necessarily the goading between the two of them, but when they're actually fighting with each other with those bow staffs, and then when they're actually letting out the creature inside them. When Kendra unleashed the priestess within, she went like berserk, and then Sarah was fighting against her on that, and then she let out the animal inside of her, which is brought on by the bloodlust that she got from the Lazarus pit. It's just great to see these two women out of control in their fighting styles, and yet still coming out on top, if that makes sense. I just really like that. And it was a shame that those skills were being contained in that training session instead of out in the field helping the rest of the team. Next favorite moment has to be the whole underground Pentagon stint. I really like that everyone had their own part to play, and it was great how they each... Well, it was going great until the Kendra blew it with the whole priestess showing up. But I really liked how it was going, and it seemed like they were kicking ass until she blew cover. So bonus favorite moment has to be the fight between Professor Stein and Jefferson or Jax. Usually I wouldn't go for actual fights, but the fact that they hashed out the fact that Jax didn't want to come on this time traveling trip, and that's because he didn't want to leave his mom behind. And if something ever happened to him, his mom would always think that he just left her. And then Stein brought up the fact that worrying about one person is not really an issue when the whole world is at stake. It's kind of like the battling of their reasons of why they would or would not do this time traveling gig, and then like to find afterwards from the fight that Professor Stein was only being harsh with his words because he essentially doesn't want a repeat of what happened to Ronnie. He doesn't want to lose his partner in this. And it was really great to see the two mindsets of Firestorm going at each other and trying to figure out where they stand and how opposite they are in some things, and yet how similar they are in the other. And even with this fight, you see them butting heads and you think that everything's not great. But then when Professor Stein later on risks his life with absorbing the nuclear energy from that core, I think it was, Jax was worried. He was terrified that the professor was going to take on more than he can chew, and that he was going to hurt himself more than help them. So you could definitely see both. You can see all types of emotions between these two for sure, and I really like that. Okay, so top 3 page moments of the episode. First one has to be Berserk Kendra. I don't understand why she all of a sudden just goes crazy, and they called it the inner priestess coming out. It's like she's some kind of wild bird and stuff like that. I don't get why that happens. I don't get why all of a sudden it happens. Is it because Carter's dead or something? It's like, what was the trigger for it? Because we never saw it before, and it didn't make sense. Unlike with Sarah's bloodlust, that makes sense of why it would come and go, because she's still dealing with what happened with the Lazarus pit. But with Kendra, it didn't make sense for me, and it looked kind of weird. So it was more jarring, so it was less convincing. It was more like a what the F moment type thing for me. Another peeve moment was the fact that Ray Palmer deviated from the plan. And he basically did that to save Leonard Snart. On the one hand, I like the fact that he was willing to back down from the controls, so as he was told, in order to save Leonard Snart getting a bullet to the head. But then on the other hand, I don't get why he did it. Hold on, I'm just waiting for... And there's the clock. Okay, so the whole thing was that Ray was supposed to do the controls. They were supposed to lower the defenses against the nuclear core so that the professor could get access to it. But then he sees Valentina going towards the containment, and he wants Leonard Snart to go and stop Valentina so that she doesn't go into the containment. And what I don't understand is that was not necessary. I mean, the only person who can actually physically go into the containment is Professor Stein. So as long as he's in there, he's still safe from whatever Valentina is going to do to him. So the fact that Leonard has to go and stop her that did not need to be done. He could have just stayed with Ray, and they could have just taken down the defenses, and then maybe Leonard Snart could have gone to the containment and kind of been on like security for Professor Stein, but he didn't need to go and confront Valentina, because she would never have gone into the containment area like Ray feared she would do, because it was too dangerous for her to risk her health like that. It didn't make sense. I kept thinking, why are you doing this? That's like so stupid. It's like, yes, I get that Ray wanted to save the quote-unquote damsel in distress that he thought Valentina was, but it just did not make any sense, because he's saying that she was going to go into... It's like basically he was worried about her walking into a nuclear explosion, but it's not like she's going to walk right into an area that's basically hazardous for her. I mean, the only person who could do it was Professor Stein, and come out walking and smelling like daisies and stuff like that. So just that irritated me so much. Last part that irritated me, the Pentagon scene. It only irritated me because it was very fast paced. It felt like it was rushed, even though I liked what was happening. Overall, it seemed like it happened within like 10 minutes or even less than that. That's what it felt like. It felt like it was going so fast. So much was going on. I couldn't even process everything. And like, it was like cut to the title sequence. It's like, really? That's all we're going to get for the Pentagon scene? It's like, that was so fast. It's like, yeah. It's just like on one hand, I appreciate how it's going right into it and getting into the action and everything. But then on the other hand, it's happening so fast that I can't really process it fast enough as it's happening. And when I'm trying to write down quotes to post later on Tumblr, a lot gets missed, for sure. But what will I remember most about this episode? The whole Pentagon stunt. I really like the whole undercover thing with everyone playing their own part and showing their own level of skill set. It was pretty cool. But random questions. First one, what was the purpose of keeping Sarah and Kendra out of the mission? The whole episode, after the whole stint at the Pentagon, showed them training or trying to deal with the fact that they lost control. And we got to see their fight styles and how good they are. And yet that was all being kept on the ship when the rest of their team members were out in the field in compensating for the fact that they weren't there. I didn't get why it was, why they weren't included. I can understand if they didn't want them on another undercover mission because they might lose control. But if they're on like a retrieval or a defensive action type mission, then why not just send them out? Let them loose and cause mayhem and stuff. At least then they would have 2 extra bodies to help them out. Next question. Were Kronos and that Time Master Thomas killed, or did they just run away? Again, it was another fast-paced moment. I think Thomas ran, but I can't remember what happened with Kronos, or I couldn't tell what happened with Kronos. But let me know in the comments below if you know just what happened there. Next question. Why didn't Ray have his Atom suit? I mean, this whole episode, we don't see him in it. So I'm wondering if he's avoiding keeping the Atom suit with him because he doesn't want a repeat of what happened back in 1975 with a part of his suit. falling off and getting in the hands of Vandal Savage. But if that were the case, then why is he on the missions? I mean, the whole point Ray was included on these missions was not just for his mind, but because of his technology with the Atom suit. So if he's not going to use it, then, like, why is he actually in the field? It didn't make sense. Last question. Doesn't the existence of this Russian Firestorm project affect the timeline all our legends came from? Because apparently from the original timeline that they are coming from, there is no Firestorm project in 1986 in Russia. There's none of that because Firestorm was never created. And yet, because it went back in time in 1975 and exposed Vandal Savage to the existence of the Firestorm Matrix, now he's trying to recreate that and create an army up for himself. So then wouldn't the fact that he's building this project show that he's changing history, or he's changing the timeline? And I'm just wondering why that's not addressed, or why they haven't figured out how much of a difference it's made to their own timelines or to their own futures. And just a thought. So moving on to predictions, based off the promo for episode 105, we see Professor Stein being forced to finish up the Firestorm project because Ray and McRory, Heatwave, are being used as leverage against him to get him to cooperate. And then we also see Sarah with a sniper rifle having a target put on Stein. So she's essentially, it looks like she's being tasked to kill Professor Stein to stop him from creating the Firestorm project. And based off the synopsis, it basically says the same thing. Leonard Snart is in charge of leading the team to help their friends escape, and Sarah gets her secret side mission from Rip Hunter to kill Professor Stein if need be. Now, overall, for this episode, I think my prediction would be that this kill order on Professor Stein that Sarah has to execute, I think that will alter the trust within the team. They're definitely going to second guess where their loyalty or where their importance lies within one another, especially with Rip Hunter, because he seems ready to eliminate one of their own team members just to ensure the betterment of the timeline, even though their presence is kind of already destroying the timeline as it is, because they keep making it worse in the past. They make it worse sooner than it's supposed to. Next prediction has to be that Firestorm research has to be destroyed at some point. In 1986, they have to get rid of that research somehow. And hopefully they do. Otherwise, they're just going to have more trouble with every time they pop up into history and expose themselves to Vandal Savage. That's giving them another advantage to get closer to his world domination thing. So it's going to be very complex and interesting. And hopefully they figure out just how to stop messing with the timeline and making it worse. Because it seems like they keep making it worse before they even make it a smidge better. But that's what it is. So what did you guys think of the episode? Is there anything that you thought was going to happen, or you were surprised that it happened? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. Also, any more news or gossip or stuff like that about Legends of Tomorrow, check out my Tumblr page. I reblog promos, web clips, sneak peeks, dialogues, quotes, GIFs, all of that whenever it pops up on my dashboard. It's as organized as I can get it, so check that out with Tumblr link below. And that's about it. So thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate you taking some time and listening to what I have to say. It means the world to me. I am sorry for the delay this week. It just bit off more than I could chew. I could definitely say that, and I was definitely not ready for it, but slowly resting up again, so hopefully next week everything will be right on track again. But again, hope to see you again next week, but until then, this is Mel. Wish you all a great week, great day wherever you are, and happy Valentine's Day for this weekend. Bye guys.